What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Sports 360. I'm Jeff Fannell, and I'm here with my man Rob Duran. Rob, what's up?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Hey, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, we're into March, so March Madness is coming up on us, and
Yep.
we got some, NBA basketball still going on. We have spring training. For those who care, I'm not one of them. We got hockey going on. you know, so there's a lot going on, though. I mean, I think we're entering into what I think is a great time of year, because even for example with golf, man, you're gonna have some, the golf tournaments are gonna start coming, Masters are gonna be coming soon, is gonna be coming soon, and things like
Yeah.
that. So, you know, um, it's great, and you know what, Rob, especially when you think about where we were, a year ago, we were about to step in it, man. You know what I mean? In a
Yeah,
way
man.
that we didn't have any clue of what was coming. But when you think about it from that standpoint, a year later, it's great to be where we are, even though we still aren't back to quote unquote normal.
Yeah, man. A year ago, almost to the date, we were wondering if we were going to have sports at all in 2020. And we were so unsure about not just sports, but life in general. There were so many questions and no answers for us. And here we are almost a year later, and we're talking about a multitude of sports coming together about it around the same time. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, around this time last year, we started to get the whispers, and I shouldn't say whispers, but we started to get the groundswell when we saw in college basketball how this conference was canceling their conference
Yeah.
tournament, and this conference was doing it, and this conference, and then the NCAA banged, March Madness, and then of course the NBA shut everything down, and once that happened, it was we knew, okay, we're
That's
in something.
that's when it got real. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, to be where we are now is a relief, after what has been, a very, very tough year. And look, we're not out of the woods yet, but things do look far more promising, than they have been, even compared to the recent months. So it's good to be where we are, and hopefully things will continue to get better. And speaking of getting better, man, the Dallas Cowboys got better
Ooh.
because they locked up their quarterback, Dak Prescott, 4 years, $160 million. I think they were negotiating this contract, for the last 16, 17 years. It feels like, right? Um, they finally got
Just
this thing.
about.
They finally got it done, man. But 4 years, $160 million. Um, $66 million signing bonus,
Yeah.
right? Coupled with a $9 million salary for the coming season. In 2021, he will receive $75 million.
Wow. Get that money, huh?
Get
Man.
that money. Yeah. I mean, his total
Wow.
guarantee is 126 million.
Yeah.
Um, but $66 million signing bonus, $75 million next year. Dak got paid. It took a long time. I don't know why it took so long, but for him, I guess it proves that good things come to those who wait adage, because
Yeah,
he
man.
got paid. And it's good news for Dallas Cowboys fans. And you know what though, too, Rob, and Dak Prescott, he's a good quarterback. But he's one of the good guys in the league. And I think there are a lot of players who are happy for him, and a lot of football fans who are happy for him for that reason. So congratulations to him, man.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point, him being like a good character guy, there were a lot of people saying the same thing. What the heck is taking so long? Like, how do you not lock this guy up? Like he's not. Maybe he's not a top 5, top 3 quarterback, but he's a really good QB. You're not going to be able to replace him just like that in a year. So I don't know what was going on with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and all that, and why this took so long. And I felt bad for Dak when he got hurt last year. Normally a player gets hurt when he's not guaranteed a long-term deal, and you feel for that player, especially in the NFL. But I'm glad he got his money. I'm glad he got paid. He still gives the Cowboys flexibility with the terms of the contract, the way it's structured. But good for him, man. Good for him. I'm glad he got paid. A lot of people are happy he got paid, like you said. And, I think it was a no-brainer for the Cowboys to sign him, to lock him up. But, I'm just happy for Dak that he got his money. He stays where he wanted to be. And again, great guy, great character guy, a model citizen in that franchise is what they need at the QB position, and they got it.
Yeah, and you're right when you talk about the injury and feeling really bad for him when it happened, because you wondered how that was going to affect his contract negotiations, right?
Yeah.
And it was such a gruesome injury, and is he going to come back? Will he come back at full strength and all the rest of that? But you know what else happened along the way? His value to that team was
Went up.
magnified during
Yep.
his absence, because you realized what a drop off it was. And look, Dalton played well, you know what I mean, for Andy Dalton, you know what I'm saying? But he was
Exactly.
no Dak Prescott, and you
Yep.
knew that, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that his absence from the team, it just affected that whole team in a way that I think underscored his value to them, and really made the Cowboys realize, yeah, we can front if we want to for negotiation purposes and strategy and all that, but we need to
But
sign this guy.
we need this guy.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than the value he puts on the field. That whatever impact he has in the locker room, man, it wasn't there last year, and you saw it in the play.
Right. And you know where else
It's
you saw it?
crazy.
You know where else you saw it though? In Zeke. Because if
Yeah.
if you
Oh, big
don't
time.
if defenses don't have to, you know, they're not really worried that much about the quarterback being able to beat them in the various ways that Dak can, then
Yep.
they can load up on the line, you know what I mean,
Yep.
to stop the run. And you saw Zeke, he look, the Cowboys also had some problems on their offensive line last year. They had a lot of injuries. So
Yeah.
that plays into this too, you know what I mean? But the quarterback play, football is one of those sports, man, where the success of one position is determined upon the successful execution at other positions. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It
Hundred
really
percent.
is, you know. And so if you don't have a quarterback that's back there dealing and keeps the offense or the defense honest, then they can load up on your running back. And I think we saw a little bit of that last year with Zeke. So look, the the Cowboys need Dak. They got him back. I shouldn't say back, but they have him in the fold. He's locked up, and it's good news for Dak and for Cowboys fans.
Yeah. Blessing in disguise him being out, but he got his money, and I'm happy for that.
That's right. That's right. So good for Dak Prescott. On another football note, this one in college football, not so good news and not such a good story is Les Miles and the Kansas Jayhawks. Um, for those who might not know what's going on, Les Miles, former
Boy.
coach at LSU, stories came out that there were some reports or, that were conducted, investigations that were conducted by LSU, two separate ones. And, they resulted in reporting that he engaged in some inappropriate conduct, Les Miles did, with female students while he was head coach at LSU. Nothing in terms of any kind of assaults or anything like that, but just meeting female students off campus and all that kind of thing. There was one student that alleged that he kissed her. He denied it, but the conduct was deemed to be inappropriate in not one but two separate reports while he was at LSU. He's been the Kansas coach for what, 2 years, I think,
I
and
believe
now
so.
those reports came out. And at first, he was put on administrative leave, but just today, right? Uh, both sides mutually agreed to part ways, right? And so he is now out as the head football coach at Kansas. What's your take on all this, man?
Man, the more I looked into this and kind of read the articles and even looked back a little bit prior to like the whole LSU stuff, I kind of got more and more bothered reading more about what he was involved in. And a lot of what I read, my mind kept going back to, why is LSU not getting mentioned more here? And the stuff that they kind of swept under the rug in a sense. I saw that the AD, the athletic director there, recommended that Les get fired in 2013, I believe it was. And then
Right.
the council said no to avoid like a whole buyout situation or avoid, court stuff and all that stuff. And I was just like, man, this just the more I read it, the more it bothered me more. And it just kind of highlighted too a lot of the what I would call like a toxic environment at LSU while he was there, especially with the football program and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. I think a lot of it speaks to, and I know we touched on this a couple episodes ago with other stuff going on in baseball. I think it's a lot of maybe some privilege going on with Les Miles too. Um, Stuff that he did at LSU, and he was able to get a job again as a head coach somewhere else. That kind of stuff doesn't happen with everybody. And somehow he was able to get out of this LSU thing and get a new job as a head coach somewhere else at another college at that. It's just none of this sits right with me at all.
Yeah, and you make an interesting point about the privilege aspect of this. I mean, look, I think men need to wake up. Okay, the time when they could sort of abuse their authority and get away with it because whether there was a good old boy network or somehow you know um, the atmosphere was such that the man in power was going to be believed over the woman who's not in power, whether that's an employee or a student or someone else, or the days when, as a general matter, women were more reluctant and maybe afraid to speak up. I think folk need to realize, men need to realize, by and large, those days are over and they
Yeah,
need to be over. You know what I mean? And so, look, Les Miles is 67 years old, right? So he's from, you know, older that older generation. You know what I'm saying? Look, he's a few years older than me, so I'm not trying to make him out to be, old man River or anything like that. But I'm just saying he's from a
yeah,
little bit, he's from a time when, as coming up, right, it was that culture that I just described was in place. You know what I'm saying? And so part of this is, some of these guys think they can just get away with it, you know. And look, there's some men of the current generation, younger guys, who are still of the same mindset. But
yeah,
you know what? It's time out for that. And we said it before when we talked about whether it was Mickey Callaway or Jared Porter or whoever. It's time out for that. And especially on the college campus. But the other thing you said that's worth noting, and I agree with you 100%. A lot of focus has been on Kansas, and why didn't they know that this was part of the Les Miles story? And part of the answer is they did not. Kansas did not use a search firm
mm,
when searching for their head coach and landing Les Miles. But that's because the AD and Miles were good friends, right? Going back 20 years. And so it was like, well, I'm hiring my friend,
yeah,
and Les Miles was also one of those, He's one of those hires, right? That energizes the student body and boosters and donors and all the rest of it, right? So you're going for the name, and he was a very successful coach at
Yeah.
LSU. So I think a lot of corners perhaps were cut, and now
To
we
get
see
the
what
big
we
name.
have. Right, you're going to
Yeah.
get the big name, right? But so a lot of focus is on Kansas, and I think that's appropriate to a certain degree. But I agree with you when you say, why is LSU skating here? You know what I mean? Why should they skate? Because as you said, whether it was the AD or the general counsel, whoever it was who wanted him to be fired, right? They sent an email and they said, listen, we either are going to have to explain why we fired him or why we kept him. And I thought that was a very good way of looking at this, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to explain something. And, and right now they're kind of getting away from having to explain why they kept him. You know what I mean? But I think there should be some focus on that aspect of this story as well.
I definitely agree, because it's you have to look at every side of the situation, and like you said, they someone has to come out and explain why he was able to keep his job at LSU for so many years, and then you know I don't want to say put Kansas in that position, but in a sense put Kansas in that position. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man. Like I said, everywhere I looked at this, it just bothered me more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and now as they mutually agree to part ways, they enter into a settlement agreement. And of course, there's confidentiality, there's non disparagement, on both
Yeah,
sides. And Les Miles walks away with a $2 million paycheck. Um, Go figure, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
look, to me, it's another story in sports where you have a male coach or a male who's in a position of authority who is abusing that authority. It's an old story, you know what I mean? It's nothing new, and this won't be the last one that we've seen. But it's not a good look, obviously for Les Miles, but also for KU, which, by the way, they made a point to say that they are going to replace Miles and they will use a search firm this time around. So,
probably a good idea.
yeah, yeah, but not a good look for all
Man,
involved here. But here's the other thing I will say about this. When the story first broke, there was all this, Les Miles' attorney, Peter Ginsburg, is someone who I've dealt with in the past and very good attorney, especially in football, NFL, and everything like that. And he was saying, all the right things. And he was saying, this is about media blowback. Why is he put on administrative leave? And the truth is going to show, that all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
He's not guilty of these charges, all the rest of it. I'm not saying that he is guilty or whatever, but here's the bottom line. When things like this happen and the coach, the manager, or whoever it is gets placed on administrative leave, all that's doing is buying time to
yeah,
figure out how to get the guy out of Dodge. He's not gonna
yeah,
he's not gonna ever keep his job.
yep,
Never. Never. So once he was placed on administrative leave, the die was cast. It was just a matter
yeah.
of when. And a couple of days later, Les Miles is out the door. So um, I would like to say
Man.
lesson learned, but I don't, we'll be here again, man. We'll be here
Oh
again.
yeah, I'm sure of it. Unfortunately,
So over the weekend, NBA All Star Game. Did you catch any of that? And if you did, what were your thoughts as the best and brightest of the NBA got together in Atlanta?
I did catch probably. I would say the game. I probably caught almost 3/4 of it. 3 out of the 4 quarters. I thought the 3-point contest was fun.
Yeah.
I was going for Steph because how can you go against him? But I think that was probably the most exciting part of the All-Star festivities and all that stuff. It was pretty exciting to see these guys going at it. Steph had a little flair for the dramatic at the end, kind of leaving it to literally the last shot before he won it. But
Yeah.
man, the guy put on a show, especially in that
Yeah.
first round. He 30 plus, I think it was, in the first go
Yep.
around. But
Yep. But
man,
man, you got to give Conley some credit, though. I mean,
oh
first of
yeah,
all, he was a late addition to the 3-point. He was a late addition to the All-Star game because of injury. And Mike Conley, I mean, Steph had to hit that last shot. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So and Conley put up what, like 27 and 28 points, right? I mean, he
yeah,
was up in the upper 20s both times. So Conley, hats off to him. You know,
yeah. I was not expecting that. That's for sure. And I know he's a good shooter, but I wasn't expecting him to basically almost beat Steph because, like you said, if it wasn't for that last shot, Conley would be the champ right there.
right, right. So but I agree. I thought the 3-point contest was I enjoyed that. I thought the skills challenge was interesting to see that it was the big guys who,
I know. Well,
who
they beat CP3, who you would assume will probably be the favorite there going in there. The
right.
two big guys at the very end, I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, man. So that I thought was interesting from that standpoint. Look, to me,
Yeah.
quite frankly, though, I think the skills challenge is boring. I just think it's so
Yeah.
boring, man.
I don't really like it.
Nah, me either. I mean, I think they can get rid of that. And speaking of getting rid of, I didn't watch the dunk contest because I didn't know when it was coming on. I just didn't know. And it was at halftime. I didn't know that. So I missed it. Um, But and so I can't comment on this year's dunk
Oh
contest. So if you
man.
saw it, you could tell us about it. But I think the dunk contest is I've been an advocate for getting rid of it. I just don't think it has. We're never going back to Neek and Mike. We're just not. It's
Never.
not going to happen. And I don't think we're gonna. Vince Carter. I don't know. I just don't see it.
No.
But you know, what
Yeah,
were your thoughts on the dunk contest?
yeah, I didn't like it at all, to be honest. I was rooting for Obi of the Knicks, obviously. Got to root for my guy, but I thought he should have won. But I didn't like there was nothing flashy going on. I think the last dunk contest that was maybe memorable was with Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, maybe
Yeah.
that year, a few years
Yep.
back.
Yep.
But other than that, there really hasn't been one that I remember, I would say. And I watch it every year, but if you ask me who was in it last year kind of thing, I'd probably give you one or two names if that. So, and this year, I don't know. I didn't like it at all. Especially the whole halftime thing was kind of weird. And I know they kind of have to bunch everything in together, maybe in one day because of COVID stuff. But yeah, it wasn't fun. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Like I said, I missed it. And as far as last year, I'm not sure if it was last year, but I think that kid from the Miami Heat who looks like he's wearing his little brother's shorts. You know what I'm saying? You know that guy I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know his name. I think he's a lefty, but those shorts he wear, man, look like those belong to a little brother, man. I think that I think that was the guy who won last year, man.
Yeah, I
You
think,
know?
yeah, because there was some controversy with Dwayne Wade being a
Yeah,
homer.
yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know what that kid's name is, but somebody need to buy him a new pair of shorts, man. That's all I know. But the other thing about the
Oh
All-Star
man.
game, I didn't watch the game either, man. By the time the game came around, it was a long weekend, everything else. I'm like, I don't really have time to watch guys just shooting up shots, no defense, all the rest of that. I said, I didn't. I tried. I watched the first couple of minutes, but I said, man, I'm done. You know.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the game. But did you? You said you saw most of the game. What were your thoughts on the game?
I thought the game was actually pretty entertaining. Normally, I'm like you. I kind of check out here and there while I'm watching it. But this year, for some reason, it kept me involved, and I kind of wanted to keep watching it, which was different, I guess, from previous years. But I think it was just the back and forth with Team LeBron themselves, like Dame and Steph shooting from half court and stuff like that, and actually making them. I think a lot of that was kind of what kept me into the exciting moments of the game. Towards the end, obviously they played some defense here and there, but Team LeBron dominated. Their squad was just ridiculous. So kudos to LeBron James, the GM, kind of putting that squad together. But I thought the game was more exciting than I anticipated it would be for what an NBA All-Star game is. Like you said, they don't play defense at all up until the last 2 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
But it was pretty entertaining, I'll say. I wouldn't say good game, but it was definitely a very entertaining game.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I do like about All-Star games, whether it's in, baseball or basketball, because I don't watch Pro Bowl. I just think the timing of the Pro Bowl is such that
I haven't seen a Pro Bowl in years.
Yeah, so I don't watch Pro Bowl, and for the second time in the same podcast, I'm going to let you know I don't watch hockey. So I don't watch the All-Star game in hockey. But when you see, the top players in whatever sport come together, you really appreciate the level of talent that these players have, and I think that's one of the things that certainly is on display. Like when you talk about Lillard and Steph doing their thing, that the fact that the range that these guys have
it's ridiculous
is just unbelievable. You know what I mean? And then, the players, all these other players, the way they can dribble the ball and the way they can shoot the ball, the way they can jump and run. I mean, it's just unbelievable the level of talent that these elite athletes have. And so I think seeing that on display is always something that, as a sports fan, you have to appreciate.
Yeah, and I think it kind of connects more too with fans, because you see the way they kind of play is kind of like the way we would play in the park, in the playground and stuff like that, just kind of doing our crazy moves and doing this, dribbling behind the back, stuff they can't really do during, an actual game. So it's kind of fun to see these guys let loose and just kind of play ball. They're playing like kids, and it's fun to see that.
Yeah, and you're right. That aspect of it is pretty neat. It's another good thing from this All-Star game was the focus on HBCUs. I thought the NBA did a really good job with that and incorporating that into various aspects of, the festivities, whether it's Gladys Knight, who's a HBCU grad, right, singing national anthem.
She sang great. She put on a show.
Kamala Harris, the vice president, being interviewed by Michael B. Jordan. That was pretty cool. And you had the bands and you had the choir, you know what I mean? The referees were from HBCUs. So I thought all of that was really good, and they raised money for them as well. So I think that emphasis on these schools that, are, challenged in terms of the finances and facilities and things of that sort, to shine a spotlight on these schools, and that, these are institutions where you can get, a great education. And if you're a person of color, it could be a place where as you go to college, you can find an environment that maybe is a little bit more comfortable and conducive to where you are culturally and all the rest of that maybe aid in your development, but that you can go to these institutions and, go on and do some great things in life. And I think focusing attention on these schools was a good thing that the NBA did.
Yeah, I definitely agree. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of success that comes out of HBCUs. And you mentioned a few of them just right off the bat, huge names. And, I think it was great for the NBA to focus on that and raise the money for these colleges and universities and things of that nature. And, when they were talking about having the All-Star game itself, there were a lot of question marks of whether they should even do it. But the fact that they were able to make it happen and bring attention to the HBCUs, it was a great decision by the NBA, and I think it was awesome. I'm so happy that they were able to do that.
Yeah. So that all in all was great. They had the All-Star game. I mean, some players at first weren't too happy about it, but they were able to pull it off. Other than Embiid and Simmons, Ben Simmons, getting scratched from the game because of, protocols. And I think you said their barber had
Yeah, the
COVID,
barber. Yeah.
so what I was thinking about when MB couldn't make the game? Whether Donovan Mitchell was saying to himself secretly, that's what you get. You know what I mean? Because right? Because MB got Mitchell teed up, right? I
Yeah.
think in the last game before the All-Star break that Philly and Utah played overtime game, right? Mitchell's complaining about a call or whatever, and Embiid is like, "Whoa, you gonna let him do that? Tee him up." And the
Yeah.
referees teed him up, and then when he got his second technical later, Embiid was
Yeah.
like escorting him off the court. I wonder if Mitchell in his heart of hearts was saying, "Yeah, big dog, who can't play now?" It wouldn't have
That's
been
a
the
good
right
one.
thing to say publicly,
Yeah.
but there was a part of me that was saying,
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell was saying, "Karma something else, doctor."
Man. That's a good
so,
one. Oh
so
man.
yeah. Um, another thing to keep an eye on, man. We talked about spring training being in full swing.
Yeah.
And there's been reports of, the fact that all of these teams, with the exception for Toronto, who's still not playing home games this year, at least to
Yeah.
start the season, right? They're not going to be playing in Toronto. But, the other 29 teams, and even Toronto, given where they're playing, uh, they will have some measure of fans in the stands, more than likely, right? Because right now there was reporting out there that anywhere from 10 to 20, 25, 30% capacity in most of these stadiums. In Houston, because of what's going on in Texas, they
Hmm.
can essentially have 100%, but we'll see what happens. But it does at least let us know that as we look to the start of the MLB season, there's likely to be fans in every major league stadium to start the season. And if things continue to improve in the country, which we all hope that it will, and
Yes.
people get vaccinated, more and more getting vaccinated, and that seems to be going along better now. We may get to a point where, the percentages increase, and that would be a great thing to see. So to me, that's an encouraging sign as we look to the baseball season starting, that there will be fans in the stands, and hopefully that will grow as we get deeper into the season.
Yeah, and that's a great sign, like you said, for things to come, for just society in general. Last year it was awkward. I'm not gonna lie, it was awkward to see baseball games and not hear actual cheers and boos and things of that nature. Like, as a Yankee fan, the Yankee fans boo their own players, and I kind of miss that.
Right, right.
You miss that, even though it sucks to boo your own player. You miss that. Those are elements of the game that were missing last year, and we kind of saw a little bit of that late in the playoffs. But I was watching a spring training game the other day, and they were booing a Yankee player. I was like, that's cool. I forgot what that sounds like. But, man, all jokes aside, like, it's great that there's going to be some capacity of fans. Obviously they're going to do the whole social distancing and making people wear masks and stuff like that. But just to be able to have that brings a little bit of normal back into our lives. And even if we're not able to go to the games, just to see fans from on the TV, it makes a difference. And I'm glad that, like we were talking about earlier at the top, like almost a year later, we're kind of going in the opposite direction, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And we always or often talk about sports ability to heal, whether it's post 9/11 or in other, situations and circumstances where sports has that ability to pull people together, encourage people, inspire hope, and so forth. And I think, when it comes to this pandemic, and getting back to some normal way of living, whatever normal means, I think sports
Yeah.
is going to have a way of having that healing effect as well, and maybe even leading the way for us because, as you said, once we start watching games on TV and we start to see more and more fans in the stands, maybe that'll give us a sense of, okay, you know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
are turning the corner. Things really are getting better. You know what I mean? And obviously it's happening in our communities, right? Restaurants and others, maybe as those restrictions ease and you know what I mean? But, I think for those of us like myself, I'm not rushing to a restaurant. I haven't gone back to my gym, even though I could, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I still think there are a lot of Americans who aren't engaging in activities that are allowed right now in their various, cities and states. But as they see sports venues begin to fill up more and more and more, maybe that has an effect to start pushing people back out there and pushing that in a bad sense, you know what I mean? But encouraging them to go out and be a part of the broader society overall. And if that happens, then that's a good thing. And we can, be glad for sports effect in that regard.
100%, man. And kind of on a personal note too, I play in the men's softball league during the summer, and just kind of seeing the way things are happening in professional sports, where they're slowly letting fans back in, it kind of gives me the excitement to go out there and play this summer. I missed the whole last season; it was canceled because of everything going on. But even we're talking, like the league is talking about maybe trying to figure it out to make it work, and we're working with the cities where we play and stuff like that to see if there's a way to make it happen. And there's some positive news coming on about that. So, that also gives, just seeing the way professional sports has worked, and now, like you said, it just brings almost like a breath of fresh air into your everyday life. And it's great to see, man. I'm just happy.
Yeah, no doubt. And NBA has, some fans in the stands as well. So that's going on and that should increase as well. But I
Yeah.
think it's a bit harder to see NBA fans because the focus is tight on the court. When you're
Yeah.
watching the game, the cameras are tight on the court. But when you're watching baseball, it's different. You know what I mean? Because, when it's behind, that center field camera, you right, is pointing into the stands behind home plate. And then when
Yeah.
you have foul balls, right, the camera goes and pans over to wherever the foul ball is and stuff like that. So baseball, I think, has a greater than all the other sports, because even football, right,
Yeah.
it's right on the field. But baseball seems to incorporate fans into their telecasts more than the other sports because of the camera angles and foul balls and that kind of thing. So I think baseball might have a way of maybe leading that charge a little bit more than the other sports,
Yeah, I agree. There were a lot of sad home runs and foul balls last year.
Yes, they were.
The camera just showed the balls bouncing and just nobody there to catch it, no little kid, rushing to grab it or anything like that. So it's going to be nice to see that, man.
And them little cardboard things, it wasn't fooling anybody.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So it'd be nice to see some live bodies in baseball stadiums. So like I said, we're seeing it in basketball or whatever, but I think seeing it in baseball, sunny day, you know what I mean, outside, right? It just seems right. You know what I mean? To
Nothing
see
like
that.
it.
Yeah. So that's a good thing coming down the pike. So all right, man. Well, listen, it's good talking, man, catching up on these things. And like we said, man, a lot of stuff coming up over these next few weeks. And obviously we'll come back and talk about some of the leading stories that are going on out there. And I think, man, as we go forward and so many things will be happening, man, we're going to have to jump on this thing. Probably a bit more often because there's going to be a lot going on, right? A lot going
Yes,
on. So
sir.
looking forward to that. And, just in case, it wasn't clear, we won't be talking about hockey. So
definitely not. Definitely not.
So for all you hockey fans out there, tune to another channel. Tune to another channel. Sorry.
I got nothing there. I've been to one hockey game my whole life, and it was a college one that I got to go to for free. So I can't tell you what happened in it. But
probably ended in a tie, man. That's what it was. Who does that, man? What you play for?
Man.
Anyway, all right, brother. Well, I'll see you. We'll get together soon, man, and we'll go at it again. Checking out the top stories in sports. But good catching up with you, and look forward to catching up with you real soon.
Sounds like a plan, man. Sounds like a plan.
All right, take care, brother.